Hello everyone, welcome back to the frequency upgrade. Today we talk all about emotions and how to tune in and out of them and how to create your reality. So we have talked about thoughts, we have talked about words, and today we talk about emotions. So what are emotions? Emotions are a feeling plus a story. So feeling plus story creates emotion. So what do I mean by that? So when we have a feeling, we have our natural feeling is a feeling of peace, a feeling of love, feeling of centeredness, of balance. So think about a kid. They are at peace with themselves, with their environment, young kids especially. They're just playing, they're in the moment and just having a good time. And this is actually, I believe, the natural state of all of us. This resting in your core frequency, this feeling. So what you realize is your feeling is actually your energy. This is the frequency you're tuning into, the vibration, you're vibrating it. And this is basically centered in your heart space. This is where you feel it. And this is where your energetic center lies. And each time you are tuning into a feeling or an emotion, you're basically tuning into that energy. So when you think and speak and this triggers some emotions in you, you actually amplify it, you increase the electromagnetic force. And it's actually said that from the heart, electromagnetic energy is 5,000 times stronger than the one in your brain. So you can see, or you can think of your feelings as a magnet. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're tuned into, will be drawn into your life. So same frequency allows for same frequency, same vibration allows same vibration into your life. So you're tuning into the signal, and once you tune in the signal, you will get this signal. But you tune with yourself inside. And so we have this feeling, and when you think about it, we can tune into any feeling at any time without any reason. You can tune into anger and you can feel angry. You can tune into love, you can tune into peace, you can tune into hatred. You can literally, when you exercise it, you train it, you just focus on your heart chakra and you say, I tune into frequency of love, tune into the frequency of hatred. You can play around and you can see that you feel a contraction when it's something negative. You feel expansion when it's something positive. And positive and negative in this sense are just a different energetic level. And by playing around, you can actually discover that there is a polarity to your feelings. Every negative feeling has a positive feeling, but they're just different ends on the same spectrum, or on the same spectrum. So you can have hatred and you can have love, and love is on one end and hatred is on the other, but they are not fixed ends. You can feel more hatred and you can feel more love, and they are just, the more hatred you have, or the stronger one pole gets, the stronger gets the other pole. But essentially they are one and the same thing. And the power, which we talk about in a second, to transform negative emotions lies into the understanding that you have this polarity, the duality in things. And in there's a saying, in the darkest moments, you can see the stars, you can see the light. And this is actually an indicator for this, that we can choose on which end of the spectrum we want to be tuned into it. And so we talk about feelings and a story, which create emotions. So many of us, we have negative emotions like fear or worries, and we are basically kind of trapped, or we kind of victim of our emotions. They can either be triggered by a thought or by a word that we keep telling ourselves. So we have the feeling, and we have the story from our thoughts, from our mind, and this triggers an emotion, and we tune into this frequency, and we attract more of the same into our lives. Now, if you take away the story from the emotion that triggers your emotion, the feeling or the emotion, the energy, you can actually turn this apparently negative feeling, like anger, into something very positive, into something productive. When you feel angry about someone and you take away the story, the reason, you feel anger for nothing, and then you start to laugh, you feel energized, have you ever had this experience and you had a fight with your partner or with anyone you care about, and you're really into that fight and you feel so much anger, and a couple of minutes later you think about it and you laugh about it. You see the story from a different light, or you remove the story, replace it by another story, or leave it out completely, and suddenly the energy changes. So this boiling anger inside of you gets released and can be turned into something positive. This is the alchemy that you can use for any negative emotion, to alchemize it and to turn it into something on the other end of the spectrum, what we talk about on this polarity. And this way you overcome the polarity, and you can easily switch between one end and the other and don't be affected by it. And this is actually very powerful, because you can create, or you can transform and alchemize any emotion that you have, and any story you have attached to that. So you can play around with your feelings or with your emotions, remove the story, and then you have just your feeling, pure feeling, and you can use your heart chakra like a calibration device, like a measurement device, and you can just play around and experience the different ends of the spectrum in all kinds of ways, and this will enable you to have a much more a richer life experience, because all of these feelings are part of life. They are necessary. You cannot be always in the same frequency. Life is a up and down, left and right, forward and backward, and so these feelings are a natural part of life. You tuning into different energies is just a way of experiencing yourself, your reality. And so feeling different feelings is not a bad thing, and you should allow these feelings to come into your life as a life experience. But once they are inside of you, you experience them, you transform whatever needs to be transformed, you can let them go. But what most people do, they choose to stick to the story. So they choose to keep this feelings, energy, this emotion inside of their life. And as we talk about it, emotions are a very powerful way to create a reality. And so by attaching to an old story, you create actually your future will be the same. It will be a mirror of your past. And if you can let go of the story behind the emotion, you transform this emotion, and it will become, you can get back to your original state, one emotion at a time, one level at a time. So you cannot release everything at once, but it takes time, and there's so much energy which is bound into these different emotions, which keeps us from living our full potential. And the more you remove, the more you release, let's say, this potential that is trapped in all these different emotions, the more you streamline your creative forces into the direction that you wish, in the direction that is in alignment with your inner self. And the thing is that when we talk about fear, that many people have fears about all kinds of stuff, but there are two different types of fear. There is a rational fear and there's irrational fear. And rational fear is fear that threatens your life. When you are on top of a building and you are walking to the edge and you have the potential danger to fall down, then it's a rational fear because you want to survive. Irrational fear is fear that is unlikely to happen, or a fear that is existing only in your mind, but it's not a real threat. So you can be afraid of spiders, or you can be afraid of giving presentations, or you can be afraid of communicating to other people or being in a big crowd. But this fear by itself is an irrational fear, and there's another reason behind that fear. And very often it comes down to either fear of death or feeling not loved, not good enough. I had this in my life, and this motivated me to do many things based on fear or out of fear. And I had a fear of not being good enough with regards to my parents and my family and anybody actually I interact with. And I had this underlying fear of not being good enough. And what I ended up doing is I try to be always deliver good results. I try to get this appreciation through performance, through doing good. So I had the fear of being rejected, and this kept me going all through the university time and the school time. And I always try to be better than others, not to be better than others, but to show that I can do it and as good as I can, or better than others. So I receive this appreciation in some way, not even worded by them, but I kind of feel it myself too. But it was never enough. It could never compensate my lack of self-love and self-appreciation. And the problem with fear is that when you're acting out of fear, you are in the fight or flight mode. And you can actually Google this. When the body is in a fight and flight mode, you shut down your creative centers of your brain. So you cannot tap into your creativity. And this is also from a spiritual point of view, it makes sense, because your fears are disconnecting you from your true inner self. Your true self doesn't have any fear because it knows it's eternal, it is powerful, it knows it's connected, it knows it all, But with this fear, when you focus on this fear, you cannot tap into that. And on a biological level, you can actually measure this, that which brain areas are active and which hormones get released and so on. And when you are in this fear-based state, whether it is irrational fear or rational fear, the body doesn't know, it just knows fear. And in this state, you cannot think creatively. So this creates stress, and you perpetuate this same thinking patterns, speaking the same story over and over again, and you have this feeling of fear, which then becomes the emotion, and it's just a self-perpetuating thing. You can also get emotions from other people when you enter a room, and you just pick it up, the energy, and without any reason you feel suddenly bad. But at the end, it's always a choice. It's always a choice how you want to feel. And the emotions or the feeling, the energy you tune into, they are so powerful, more powerful than your thoughts. But ultimately, your thoughts or the choices that you make are directing your emotions or your feeling, the energy you tune into. So ultimately, you always have a choice what to feel. And if you suffer from negative emotions, from all kinds of stuff that happened to you in the past, there are always ways to alchemize these emotions. And the way to do that, or the starting way to do that, is to accept that you have to accept that right now you can choose, in this very moment, you can choose to break out of these thinking patterns, these emotional patterns. And you see that your past is only a memory. It is wired into your brain, into your body, but it is only there because you keep perpetuating it. You keep it alive by focusing on it consistently. If you change your focus, this pattern will lose power over time. And the more you focus on something else, the more this weakens. And it's not about ignoring, it's about transforming all that energy that is attached to this fear, to this negative experiences that you had in the past. But this past is not defining you, or is only, the past defines you only as much as you allow it to define you. And no matter what happened or what you worry about, right now you can always make a choice, and you can always choose to tune into a different feeling. And this tuning happens inside your heart, and is independent of any story. So you can tune into this natural state, into your core frequency, which is always there, no matter how dark it is, no matter how painful, how disconnected you feel, no matter what you're going through. This core frequency, this true you, is always there. And you can feel it, this constant wave of you. It will always be there. It is who you are. And tapping into this and doing this consistently will help you to remove all this old baggage that you're carrying around with you. And as you do that, your core frequency will be amplified by the released energy that is no longer trapped in the boundaries, in the memories, and so on. And as you do so, you expand your capacity to live in the present moment. I repeat that again. As you release your emotions and attached stories, you increase your capacity to live in the present moment. And this is what life is about, and this is what makes life joyful, and this is where you actually get to create your desired experiences. By releasing these emotions, these old stories, and tapping into your true self in any given moment. And when you do so, you know that you just have this knowing, and this knowing tells you that you are good enough. You can say, I am good enough. And yeah, if you want, you can give yourself time to meditate, I recommend, and to close your eyes, be present, and just go deep and find that spot inside of you that is you. And normally we tend to say, I am this, I am that. But in this spot, there's just I am. This feeling of I am just being, this being energy. And whatever comes when you word again after that, I am this, I am that, then you cast a spell, then you create. But I am itself is formless, it is infinite. It has all the possibilities. And this is all where your true self, your true creative, spiritual life force, never dying, infinite consciousness, where this is where you are, what you are. And accessing it is a truly powerful experience, and it takes practice, it takes time. But if you do so, I can promise you that over time you will release all this energetic baggage that you carry around with yourself. And this is how you create your reality with your emotions, by tuning into your true self and being aware that your emotions are actually so powerful and are actually the energy you tune into, the frequency you tune into, based on a story that you tell yourself. Release the story, tell yourself a new story, a story that you want, a story you wish how it should be, and make this a reality by feeling it. And feeling it is actually the way we're experiencing our life, and you can only tune into one feeling, so why not make it a good one, a feeling of peace, a feeling of love, a feeling of joy. And you can just tune in without any reason. You can just tune into this feeling at any given moment. And this is a true powerful way to create your reality. And as you do so, you will attract automatically circumstances that enforce and reflect this inner state. But as long as you don't tune into this state first, you cannot attract these other circumstances. And this is how you create your reality with your emotions. So if you have questions on that, I know this is a longer topic, and the hardest topic for all of us to go through this emotional stuff that we carry around with us. Sometimes we don't even know it, that we're carrying around with us. It's just part of us. It's part of our identity that we take on. But as you release it more and more, you will realize that you limit yourself with these attachments, but your true self is limitless. And accessing this on a daily basis, you will understand this more and more and become more and more powerful. So with this, I hope I could help you, shed some light on you. And if you have questions, feedback, comments on that, I will be very glad to answer them. And hope I see you soon in the next session. I will talk about the actions that make part of our creative process. So thank you again, and talk to you soon. Bye.